Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radivision, the new Entrepreneurship Network. And I'm Andy Lyons, startup coach to first-time founders, and I am your guest host today. And I have the good fortune to interview seasoned entrepreneur Maury Bahar, founder of Personal Remedies. Hey, Maury, how you doing?
Hey, Andy, how are you? And the good fortune is all mine.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you and see you and learn more about your story. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and Personal Remedies.
I'll be happy to. At Personal Remedies, we provide fully automated, personalized dietary guidance, taking into account multiple chronic illnesses, food preferences, allergies, dietary considerations, health issues, and medications. We basically facilitate or enable food is medicine phenomena. Andy, as you know, food is medicine is a lot like teenage sex. Everybody's talking about it. Very few are experiencing it. And no one knows how to do it well.
Hey, come on. That's an analogy we're all going to remember now, right, everybody?
So that's what we focus on. That's what we bring to the table. And I'll be happy to elaborate on that subject a lot more as we go on.
Excellent. Let's watch the video about Personal Remedies. Oh my gosh, Maury, Personal Remedies is like having a dietitian in the palm of your hand.
What we saw, Andy, was basically the demo of one of our apps. We have something like 42 different apps in the marketplace. And that particular one is the one that's focused on immune system and all its comorbidities and viral infections, COVID-19 in particular.
Wow.
So that was really just discussion about or demonstration of one app.
Oh my gosh. Now, Maury, I know you are a seasoned entrepreneur, which folks watching, that means he's done this before, this entrepreneurship journey, which, by the way, is the best personal development program out there. Maury, what was it about Personal Remedies that you said, oh, I've got to do this business, I'm in? What made it your North Star? Why were you compelled to launch this business?
Okay. Well, it really all started with personal experience. A couple of decades ago, my doctors told me I had high cholesterol, I had high triglycerides. One morning I woke up and I had tinnitus in one of my ears. And my doctors told me that, okay, you got to avoid fat, you got to avoid sugar, alcohol, salt, and so on. So I asked myself, hey, what's there left for me to eat? So I started organizing some notes and doing some research and poke around about what are the best choices in terms of food and diet for those conditions. And of course, sometimes these recommendations are contradictory. One is good for this condition, but not great for that condition, and so on. So I organized all that in a spreadsheet and started sorting it and following it, and realized that I may not be alone in having multiple chronic illness and issues, and I may not be alone in wishing to address those issues to dietary choices and lifestyle choices as opposed to prescription drugs. So if I may, let me offer a little bit more info about personal remedies and how we make all of this happen.
Go right ahead. I'm thinking, Maury, that you have the classic entrepreneurship story in the sense that folks, people who launch a business are solving a problem, one that they usually have. And then
Exactly.
they find a way to solve the problem for themselves, and they look around and say, hey, someone else may need this solved too. And maybe they'll pay me to solve it for them. So this is great. So go on, share.
Exactly. That's what, as you said, inspires many people when they run into a problem that they say, hey, there should be a better solution for this problem. Imagine your favorite food, grilled octopus. Imagine some illness, some health condition, let's say pancreatic cancer. There are no clinical studies. There are no NIH-funded programs or initiatives that would tell us whether this food is helpful or harmful for this condition. But there's a lot of research and a lot of information available about the interactions between various nutrients and various illnesses. And of course, there's a lot of information about nutrient content of various food items. So what our technology and our algorithms and our AI-based software does, it captures, aggregates, analyzes, and summarizes all that research and data in order to establish a relationship between a given food item and a given illness. And we have something like 200-300 different illnesses, chronic conditions, and health issues and diets in our system.
So I have a question to dive in. And you're using AI to gather all this information. There's so many of us, when we're experiencing physical ailments and we want to fix it, we make the mistake on hopping on WebMD, and we're getting all of this skewed information. How do you give your folks that are coming on to Personal Remedies a good feeling that they are going to get unbiased information, that you have filtered out some of the unrealistic information out there and found the right information on both the food as well as the science?
All right. Well, first, let me be the first to confess to you that what we have is not perfect. And that was never our goal, frankly, because that's unachievable. Every minute, a new paper gets published and some new findings become apparent to us. But what we did try to do is to improve over the status quo by 1,000%, not just by 10 or 20%. Now, some of the measures that we take are as follows. We try to use sources from reputable organizations, NIH agencies, and research papers that get published in PubMed. And frankly, everybody, including WebMDs, rely on the same sources as we do. The other consideration is some studies are much more reliable than some others. And the way our software and our system operates, we give more weight to those studies that have been repeated, that are more reliable, that are from more authoritative sources than others. And then if somebody goes to our website and starts poking around, and we have this information available and demonstration is available on our website under knowledge base, people can actually see the list of references that stand behind every one of the assertions we make on our website in terms of when we present a connection between grilled octopus and pancreatic cancer. If someone clicks on the item that represents that relationship, they will see the list of the references we have used.
And of course, curious want to know, what is the relationship? between fried octopus?
Well, that's a great question. And I don't memorize those things. That's why I have my website. That's why I have these apps, so that I don't have to memorize those relationships. Because imagine, and that's why we claim that we provide capability that is 1,000 times more accurate and better than others. And here's why. Imagine you have, say, 300 illnesses. Imagine you have 1,000 food items. That is 300,000 unique relationships, right? That's a lot to memorize. Now imagine that we track something like 90 different nutrients that play a role, and there are a lot more than 90, but we focus on 90, and frankly, that is a greater list than even USDA tracks and publishes data for. But imagine you have 90 nutrients and you have 1,000 food items. That is, again, 90,000 unique relationships, because nutrient content of this food item for this nutrient may be here, another nutrient may be there, and all of that is going to be different for a different food item.
Okay? I love that. But your website is also wonderfully based on food as medicine.
That's the principle that drives us. We rather see people prevent, manage, and if we're lucky, sometimes reverse chronic illnesses through better dietary choices, lifestyle choices, alternative approaches to addressing their health issues, as opposed to the conventional approach, which unfortunately in the US is strictly limited to prescription drugs and surgery and all kinds of more sophisticated, more modern tools.
Well, and good for the emergency, right? I mean, if you get your leg cut off or something terrible happens and you're in an awful automobile accident,
Absolutely.
We want those tools. But for chronic illnesses, for everyday things, to be able to turn to things without the side effects of pharmaceuticals is so, so wonderful. And Maury, this just makes me think about how important your website must be for those who are trying to prevent getting COVID, along with taking the necessary safety precautions of wearing a mask and socially distancing and not going to the backyard parties, et cetera, but also who want to use their food and their nutrients to keep their body shored up and strong. Talk a little bit about how COVID hit your business, Personal Remedies, especially given from our neck of the woods here in Boston. We got hit hard, we got hit fast right in the beginning in March. We had a super spreader and boom, everything had to be shut down. How did you transition your business and start to help people? Because you have this weighted diagnostics on your website. So people are going to be searching and searching and searching, but you're going to be giving them the best answer for their questions. So I know I just asked you a lot. How, again, did COVID hit you in your business, and how have you seen yourself start to help Personal Remedies, start to help folks who want to shore up their chances of staying healthy?
All right. As you said, that was a number of different questions. And at my age, I may forget some of them, so make sure you remind me, okay? But here are some comments I like to offer. One is, people can get up-to-date information about whatever science data we have available on a variety of illnesses in terms of dietary guidance, not just through our website, but through our API, our application programming interface. I mentioned that because that's really more important to a lot of hospitals and clinics and health technology companies and corporate wellness organizations who want to basically control the user experience and provide this kind of knowledge through their own platform. And I don't blame them. That's what we are focused on, to enable others to provide meaningful information to their patients, to their consumers, to their employees. But in terms of COVID impact, we are pretty much a virtual company, Andy. So most of us are scattered around the globe, frankly, and work out of our home offices or other forms of personal office space. We do have a strategic partner, for example. He has a startup in Italy, and he develops with his team our apps, our mobile apps. But in general, we're a virtual company. So impact of COVID was minimal in terms of our business because we're all used to working from home. The only problem is most of us used to work from home and then go out to party and do sports and mingle with others and enjoy the benefits of life and summertime. And as you know, sunny Boston is a beautiful place to be in late spring and summer.
But I have to, Maury, I have to ask, your person from Italy, everything okay with them and their family? Because Italy was hit really hard with COVID.
Exactly. And yes, absolutely. I'm in touch with Guido and I ask about him and his team all the time.
Great.
They're doing better. They're doing much better. And he and his family and the teammates are all doing fine. Now, in terms of what we have done in preparation for COVID to help people with COVID and so on, we have tried to do that in a number of ways. First, we started by updating our research and capturing latest data on immune systems, viral infections, in particular, whatever limited information that was available on COVID-19. By that, I mean information related to dietary and lifestyle choices that have impact on COVID-19 and influence the immune system, wellness, and so on. And once we did that, we automatically, our research and our data becomes available through our API to anybody who's using our API. So that becomes immediately available. Next, we developed a mobile app, which is focused on immune system. It's called Immune System Plus, available on Apple App Store, as well as Android, Google Play. And that's the demo that we saw earlier. That was just focused on that one single app.
And why are people downloading that app? What are the benefits from it?
It provides guidance for how to boost your immune system. And we can talk about that quite a bit because immune system is composed of a number of different elements and issues that we need to address. And if you allow me, I'll dive into that next. But our app also addresses common comorbidities that often are fatal for people who contract COVID-19. But in terms of what we did to help people, we also partnered with one of our customers, one of our licensees, and a lady, her name is Diana Minich, and she's got PhD in nutrition, and she's very active in this field. And our partner, their name is Edamam, and they are our licensee, and they have 5 million recipes in their database, and they provide all kinds of useful nutrient content data. 3 of us joined hands and joined forces so that we can provide meal plans and recipes focused on dealing with COVID-19. So those are the kind of actions we took, the kind of activities we engaged in order to do our part to help.
I love the partnership and collaboration. I hope everybody's taking that in, because sometimes if you operate in a silo, you're going to miss opportunities to continue building business. But if you can look out and say, well, if I partner with this person over here and this person over there, then I can leverage and keep myself afloat, right?
Exactly. And frankly, when you're an entrepreneur, that's what you got to do. And you got to figure out how to maximize your impact without necessarily having all kinds of resources on your payroll. tied up in your assets.
Right. And especially folks, when we're getting hit with something that's so scary, like a pandemic. I mean, it's hard enough being an entrepreneur. Everybody who's been an entrepreneur is one can raise their hands and give me a thumbs up over like, yeah, it's really hard. But then add a pandemic and trying to keep your business afloat. And we know that many are not able to stay afloat under these conditions, but you figured out a way to continue to not just keep your business afloat, Maury, but to add so much value at a time when people need to shore up, not just financially with, pandemic unemployment insurance, which is definitely helpful, but we have to do the same thing of pandemic immune system insurance with our bodies. And especially if you have pre-existing conditions, this is the time, the ideal time to say, okay, what can I do to eat better and be better? So talk more about the immune system, because there's a whole bunch of theories that have been flying around since COVID happened. We won't go into some of the non-science-based ones. How have you helped folks nail down what's important for the human body to keep functioning under these conditions?
Excellent question. As you well know, Andy, there are no vaccines and there are no proven treatments today for COVID-19. So our best defense is really our own body, our own immune system. That's absolutely our best defense. So the best way to prevent it and to prepare for it is to boost our immune system. Now let's talk about that a little bit. There are a number of factors involved in improving our immune system, improving our well-being. And we do provide dietary guidance for every one of them within our app. Obviously, there are some choices that are good for our overall immune system well-being. And I would like to dive into that and provide some specific recommendations and guidance.
We'd love that. Thank you.
Yeah, not coming from me, but from our knowledge base. So just so that we're
Thank
clear
you for that
about
clarification.
that. Yeah, I'm not a physician, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not in the business of providing any advice to anyone, but I'd like to share with everyone what our knowledge base and our findings say that we should do or not do in preparation for that. But before I dive into that, just to finish the overall framework for immune system, another important consideration that we try to address is detoxification. Our body is bombarded by all kinds of toxins. We absorb toxins through our skin, through the air we breathe, through the food that we consume, through the makeup that we may put or cream that we may put on our faces, and so on. So these toxins represent a major challenge to our immune system. Our immune system has to deal with all these strange chemicals that we consume through the food and pesticides and herbicides and other things that make their way to our food and to our diet. So we try to provide guidelines and recommendations for best choices to address that. And there are all kinds of professionals, frankly, who provide all sorts of fasting methods for detoxification. The other factor that we need to consider is leaky gut. Leaky gut syndrome is a concept that has gained a lot of awareness over the last mostly 5 to 10 years. And it's basically the concept of damage to our intestinal or digestive system allows toxins to enter our bloodstream through that wall.
How do you know if you have a leaky gut, Maury?
Okay, how to diagnose that is beyond the scope of certainly my personal recommendations or discussion.
You're right. We'll do another episode on that, everybody, okay?
Exactly. I'll be happy to get our medical director, Dr. Andrew Lenhart, to
But
talk
I
about
hear
that.
you. Obviously, if you use some common sense, you're understanding that the walls of your intestine and your stomach have been deteriorated, and into the blood system go the toxic chemicals from the food that you've consumed or the air that you've breathed.
Exactly. And that can cause all kinds of havoc for our immune system. including triggering what is known as autoimmune diseases. But anyhow, so leaky gut is another component we need to pay attention to. Another one, which is very critical, and fortunately a lot of people are becoming aware of that, is our gut flora, our microbiome. These are the elements in our body that handle digestion and are a major part of our body's defense against these toxins. And therefore, it's important for them to be in good health. It's important that we properly feed them. Like any other organism, they need food, and it's important to feed them proper food. So that's another element that we need to pay attention to. And then finally, we got to manage stress. Stress causes havoc also for our immune system. And so we try to address every one of those within our app. Now, if you like for me to kind of dive in and offer some data that our knowledge base presents for best and worst choices for boosting our immune system in general, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, why don't you give us like your top 3 for both?
Okay. Here are things that are terrible for your immune system. I want to start with that. Basically, sweets, cakes, pies, cookies, soft
Oh,
drinks.
that's a shame, Maury. Of course you were going to say sugar.
Full of sugar and stuff. Hydrogenated vegetable oil and shortening is another culprit. All kinds of cured meats and luncheon meats, the bolognas and the hot dogs and the bacons, they are all a no-no. Artificial sweeteners, not good for us.
Stop drinking the diet soda, everybody.
Yeah, going overboard on beer and coffee, those are all.
Okay, well, define overboard. On coffee.
Over 2 alcoholic drinks per day for men, over 1 for women is considered more than appropriate.
Alcohol. What about
coffee? On coffee, I don't have an exact number, but it's probably a couple of cups of coffee per day maximum.
16.
Okay. But in general, if we can cut back on beer, coffee, and control our alcoholic beverage consumption, and absolutely eliminate the smoking, that's a no-brainer, then those are things that we should try to do in order to improve our health. In terms of food choices that are good for us, oatmeal, oats, they're wonderful. Liver and organ meats, they're full of all kinds of nutrients that are helpful. For vegetarians, the entire cabbage family of vegetables and green leafy vegetables, they are all good choices.
So you said that your platform, Personal Remedies, will also, with its wonderful AI and technology, et cetera, help people with their dietary challenges, i.e. I'm addicted to sugar, I'm addicted to caffeine, or I have at least 3 glasses of wine a night. How do I replace that? How do I tone that down and start eating better? You can help people say, okay, I want to have more of the cabbage family in my life. Here's some recipes. How do you help folks with your technology?
Okay. Well, in our apps, and we saw the demo very quickly, so I'm sure nobody caught all the details, but in our app, if you choose vegetable group of food items, vegetables, you will see a list of food items, a list of vegetables that we recommend in decreasing order of helpfulness. Then you would see a list of vegetables that we recommend against. And then there's another list of vegetables that we call neutral. In other words, we don't have any science that says they are bad for you, nor do we have science that says they're good for you. Or whatever science we have, there are elements and nutrients within the food that are good, and there are nutrients within that food item that are not good. And therefore, the score summation for that food item becomes a neutral kind of. So
what about folks who are trying to pay for good food, meaning clean, organic? And they say that, they only have so much in their budget and they're trying to stay healthy. And even though the big chains have come down in price for sure on basic vegetables and fruit for the organic world. What is your advice along that for folks, again, who during COVID are trying to stay healthy and still financially stay healthy?
Okay. Well, again, I don't suggest that I'm an expert on food and farming and so on, but at the 30,000 foot level, here's what I can offer based on what I understand. There are certain vegetables and fruits that the Environmental Working Group classifies as the dirty dozen. These are those kinds of produce that are very high in pesticides and other chemicals that have been used in farming. So if we want to be on a budget, let's look for those vegetables that have very low presence of pesticides, and therefore whether I get it in organic form or not doesn't make that much difference. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. What about supplements, Maury? Like, what can we add to our body? What about vitamin C? Or we hear a lot about vitamin D.
You're right. A lot of people suffer from vitamin D deficiency. One of the comorbidities within that app that we also include is vitamin D deficiency. Are there supplements? Absolutely. There are supplements for everything under the sun. My personal bias, which is reflected somehow in our knowledge base, is our mission was to promote food items that you can find in your refrigerator and in your kitchen. Okay, that was our bias. That's the void we tried to fill. We didn't try to be those guys who are expert in recommending the right supplement. So in general, we rather add this vitamin D deficiency by suggesting that people consume fish oil, people catch some sun, just 10 minutes per day is enough, and choose all kinds of fish that are very rich in vitamin D. Okay, so we rather promote that, and we do that. We do promote that as the avenue for addressing some of the shortfalls in our nutrient consumptions. In case of vitamin C, there has been a lot of data that vitamin C supplements in liposomal form, which is easier to digest and easier to transfer to our body. It's got a higher degree of bioavailability. We have heard that vitamin C, we have seen studies that say vitamin C is a very good supplement, and some are using it as part of the overall treatment of COVID-19. But again, I don't take any position on these matters. We just report and summarize and aggregate and populate our knowledge base with whatever authoritative source of data we can find.
So as a founder now, and thank you so much for sharing all this in-depth information on the purpose of your business, how the technology works to serve the world so that we can stay healthy and get through this very difficult time, both physically and emotionally, right? And how are you positioning your company to get through the next 6 to 12 months of the pandemic?
Okay. Well, we are just a very tiny player in that equation of trying to help the planet to deal with COVID-19. So I want to acknowledge that right up front.
I know, but when you touch one person's life, I really feel strongly about this.
You're right.
It has a ripple effect. So do not discount the tremendous amount of awareness that you're bringing to people, helping people make that transition from, as you said in the beginning, eating healthy and staying healthy is like the teenage sex thing. Who's really doing it? But but helping people make those decisions. So I feel really strongly that you are a gift, Maury, and that Personal Remedies and your team is really helping people. But we want to make sure you and your business stay healthy and alive. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're positioning the company and what you see over the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. Well, what we're really betting on, Andy, is our API. That is the fastest way to scale and to spread the gospel, if you like. Because if we partner with an organization that already has some established population of users of their technology, their capabilities, and they use our API to access our knowledge base and make that information available to that community, through one relationship, we have now spread the word to thousands or millions of people, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, one of our partners, they have 5 million recipes in their database from Food Network, from Epicurious, from all the well-known sources. By enabling them to be able to classify and categorize different recipes as helpful for various chronic illnesses, we have really changed the effectiveness and the utility of all these recipes worldwide, because a lot of their customers are global companies like Microsoft or Food Network and others. So we are doing a very little part, but through API, that little activity can translate to reaching thousands of people.
Terrific. So I think we might have some YouTube questions from the crowd. I'd love to see some. Stephen's asking, hi, Maury, how do you determine credibility of the studies? Ooh, good questions. Do you use the Cochrane approach? I hope I said that right.
Yeah, our team is composed of a number of nutritionists and doctors. Our chief scientific officer advisor is Katya Tsayon. She has PhD in nutrition from Tufts University. One of the major contributions she made when she joined our team a few years ago was to get us focused on the right sources and the right research, and asked us to drop some of the sources that we were using, some of the references that we were using for our system. So yes, we do use, or she has used, the Cochrane approach. I don't even know if I pronounced that properly, but I believe that's how it's pronounced. But I have seen that, and it is included in some of the references that people can find on our website. And in terms of credibility of the studies, as you well know, some studies are revealing information that has been confirmed by many other studies. And frankly, the Cochrane approach, and there are other groups and researchers similar to what they do, which is they publish a paper that looks at all the studies related to a specific nutrient, for example. And based on studying and analyzing all those studies, they publish their findings and their summary.
Nice.
And therefore, we can benefit from the work they have done, because I've already looked at all the studies that was published on that particular subject.
Stephen K., that was a great question. Thank you. What's next? James Williams, what's the hardest part of this process of bringing a new product to the market? Great question, James.
Well, the hardest part of the process is, if we want to produce either an app or guidance for some new illness that we don't already have in our knowledge base, then we got a lot of work to do. We need to learn all about that illness, and we need to do research and see if there are strong connections between dietary choices we make and that illness. There are some illnesses for which there is a void of data. A lot of rare diseases fall into that category.
Yeah.
So if it's a brand new condition, we have to do a lot of research and poke around and find and digest and absorb and feed research on that particular illness as it relates to choices we make in nutrients and supplements and food choices and so on. But if it's already in our system, frankly, and we need to produce a new app for that or just beef up our API on that illness, then frankly, it can go very, very fast.
Yes, and James, more to the point, is the faster you get your minimum viable product ready to get beta feedback. That is your job as a founder when you're bringing a new product to market, whether it's a bag of some yummy food or an app, and you've got to get people to test it so you can work out the kinks and make things happen. And that's the hardest part, is creating that minimum viable product that you can quickly get feedback on.
Right.
Too many founders will spend way too long on that and way too much money. So
that's a good point. And I'd like to kind of touch on one point related to that. All our apps and all our API users have real-time access to our knowledge base. So that means that as soon as some new data becomes available, and as soon as we feed that new data to our knowledge base, that latest research, latest finding becomes available to all our users. And our app users don't have to download a new version of that app to get the latest studies. It is automatically made available to them because all that knowledge resides in the cloud and not on their device. And therefore, the moment we update the cloud, the entire world gets the latest information.
See, and you're all familiar with that. Update your apps all the time. I just had to update Instagram because I realized I wasn't getting a new feature of theirs. It's the same thing. Okay, Navdeep, can everyone benefit from Personal Remedies apps, or are some people so healthy they don't need to worry about their nutrition? I love that.
I love to be one of those guys. I wish I was one of those guys. Let me answer that question in two ways, if I may. One is, we may be healthy now, and knock wood, I'm glad some people are, but we need to look ahead. We need to look at our family history and see what are some of the conditions that have occurred among our immediate family members that we may also be at risk with. And if there is such a thing, then the dietary guidance, lifestyle choices that we provide for that particular illness may be applicable and may be useful to that individual, because that is the best way to prevent that condition. 80% of chronic illnesses, according to the scientists, can be avoided completely if one takes the appropriate measures throughout our lives in terms of dietary choices and lifestyle choices. So that's one kind of way of answering the question. The second way I like to add to that is, we have a couple of apps that are implementation of dietary guidelines published by USDA and Department of Health and Human Services. Every 5 years, they publish these guidelines. Now, those guidelines are designed to basically improve your wellness and help you make good choices, and are not specific to any particular illness and so on. So that is another way of addressing the question from
Navdeep. I think what you said too, it's important to take a look at your genetics. You know, sometimes people do those DNA tests, but whatever, look at the medical history of folks, see what you need to be preventing. Just like when you get into the car and you put your seatbelt on, you need to start thinking about, how do I protect my body? You know, my one beautiful body. And I know mindset is such an important part of this, everyone, because Yeah, you've got to trick your mind into wanting to go there. I would like to just eat sourdough bread and a bunch of other yummy things all day long, but I know I'm not as healthy or happy from that exposure.
Yeah.
Any other questions out there? Oh, good. Ms. M, are doctors using your apps and advising their patients, or are patients using them directly? Excellent question, Ms. M.
And the answer is yes to both questions. But I must confess, not enough of them use those apps. Not enough customers are using our API. We can always use more. And that's what we're all about. Every day, that's what we're trying to do, is increase awareness about our capabilities through mechanisms such as this wonderful seminar broadcast. And so the answer is yes, they are, but they're very difficult to sign up. It is very difficult to swim against the flow. The conventional wisdom in the US in particular does not focus on prevention.
Right.
There's not enough money in it for people. Everybody's focused on treatment. And also the conventional wisdom in the US is focused on treating symptoms, not focusing on root causes. Now, fortunately, there are increasing emphasis on functional medicine, integrative health, well-being. A lot of people have now become aware of dietary considerations and its impact on their health. So we are moving in that direction, but at a very, very slow pace.
I'm thinking it's a lot like renewable energy. Right now, a fossil fuel company can't even get a loan, right? Renewables are where it's at. We have to get there with our food. We have to get there where it's revenue, where the doctors are also treatment for preventative is a good financial stream. So,
Exactly.
Hey, let's do one more question from the audience. This is so exciting. Hey, Andrew Jones, what's the role of Open API in providing personalized dietary services for patients and consumers? I got to say, there's a lot of smarty pants people in the audience today. These are great questions.
They are. The API, Andrew, allows people to query our knowledge base with very well-defined questions. If you go to our website and you click on products, in the opening paragraph, you see a link to our Open API, to our industry standard API. And if you click on that link, you will see the list of queries that we can address. And I will kind of mention some of them for you here. You can send a message to our API, to our knowledge base that says, what are the top 5 things I should be doing and consuming if I have this illness? Or what are the top 5 things I should be avoiding if I have this illness or if I'm trying to prevent getting that illness? Another example is you can send a message that says, is calamari fritti good or bad for polycystic ovary syndrome or prostate cancer or hair and nail or skin well-being and so on. So you can send those individual queries and you'll get a response back that can be very good all the way to avoid this. So you can get 7 different kind of response based on how helpful or harmful that individual food is for that individual illness. Another example that I can offer through our API is you can send a message that says, what are the best nuts and seeds for high blood pressure or any other illness for that matter, right? And our system will return list of nuts and seeds that are helpful to that condition. Now, through the API, you can get answer to all of these queries. And then within your own platform, Andrew, you can make a much more sophisticated capability available to the patients and consumers you like to serve. Because you can ask all kinds of questions and then aggregate the results you get from us in order to offer further value to your patients and consumers that goes beyond what the API offered to you.
Awesome.
I hope I haven't succeeded in confusing everyone.
No. This is a lofty topic, and frankly, the Radivision crowd, they're all ready to rise to the occasion for smart technology as well as smart decisions for their bodies and their minds. So you are singing their song and providing all the best relevant advice about personal remedies and how your product works. Let's go back to talking about founderhood. So Maury, you're seasoned. What would you share with other founders for how to get through those difficult times when we feel, and folks, it never goes away, okay? When you're feeling doubtful about your ability to be a founder, or you're feeling like inadequate as a founder, what advice do you have to founders, for founders to get through those difficult times when the mind takes hold and really just basically puts an L on your forehead?
Well, first of all, you are describing me.
Hey, see, everyone, I told you.
Someone who is doubtful or is challenged or feels that they're way over their head and so on. So you're absolutely describing me. But here's what I can, I guess, offer from strictly a personal perspective. Those occasions arise all the time. As you well know, Andy, founders and entrepreneurs must have very high level of tolerance for rejection, for loneliness, for pain. They often are risk takers. They don't like to go with the flow. They often challenge the status quo. They can be viewed as crazy or very unreasonable. But as George Bernard Shaw once said, all progress relies on the unreasonable man. And that is an assurance for many of us who are swimming against the flow.
Oh, that is beautiful advice. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Radivision, the COVIDpreneur series. Radivision is the new entrepreneur network. Be sure to tune into all their episodes that will really answer any questions you have and fill your heart with joy and excitement for the entrepreneurship journey, or maybe some nail-biting moments. I'm Andy Lyons. I'm a startup coach to first-time founders, and I have my own live show called Startup Life Live, where I interview founders about their journey as well. I hope to see you and connect with you out there in the online world. Thanks again for tuning in. And thank you, Maury, for sharing your stories, your insights, especially your COVIDpreneur insights for this very challenging time that founders are going through. I loved how you shared about using nutrients, the food that we have around us, and also detoxifying and really taking care of this one precious body that we have.
Thank you so much, Andy. I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. Look forward to doing a lot more similar to this.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.